Well, welcome everybody to the next episode. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Pete. I've already fallen in love with the kind of person he is with the 5 minutes that you guys haven't seen on camera. So Pete, thanks so much for being here with us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, the lost tapes. I guess we'll publish those later.
Yeah.
See the initial.
The back of the scenes. No, for sure. But, I've spent some time doing research on you, as I always do. But there's one thing I couldn't find out enough about, which is your childhood. I know you come from a family of educators, but I'd love to know what it was like growing up like that in that sort of family. Take us back to your childhood, Pete.
Well, Raj did do his homework, by the way. The questions were so pointed. When I first read them, I thought they were going to be generic. No, they were pointed and they were perfect. Anyway, so to answer your question, because I'm rambling, which is my way. Childhood, yeah. So my dad was a teacher since before I was born.
Wow.
And he was a vice principal, I want to say, maybe a year after, something like that. Teacher, vice principal. My mom went into teaching in 1989, so I was 3 years old, or 4 years old. I think I just went to kindergarten. That's where she went back into the workforce. So ever since I can remember, education was everything. Teachers were, at the top of the hierarchy when it came to respect, as I think it should be to this day. So there was no kind of choice for my sister and I. It was school's important, not necessarily straight A's, but going to school and showing respect for teachers and having it be a major part of your life has always been, my, North Star of my entire life.
Yeah, and I very much believe in that. And I think the challenge that I see is that the kids are changing a lot these days. And to some extent, in certain places, we are losing a little bit of that respect as much as I feel we used to have back when I was a kid. So do you think that that's something you've seen overall at a high macroeconomic level, that whether it's when we look at the respect or the relationship, how has that changed between the student and the teacher?
It's a great point, Pam. I don't want to put, I see even small things, and this is not to put any parents that are, watching or feel bad, but it's just my observations. More and more we're seeing parents take their kids out of school to go on vacation, let's say.
Yeah.
So that would never happen in my house. Right? You were lit on fire, we put you out, and then you go back to school. Right? Yeah. So now we have parents that are taking their kids out the week after March break or in the middle of February to get a deal and travel. And I understand that there's, nuts and bolts parts of life, but that putting school on that pedestal in a good way, I think, to your point, is not the same as when I grew up. And maybe that was just my family and your family.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are families like the ones I see back then. But really now, when it comes to respect, everything changes. And sometimes, I find that kids, for me here, in some ways are super respectful.
Yeah.
And I find that even if I go to Starbucks or something, typically the people I see being rude are the older people.
Yeah.
You are the older people, and I guess I'm one of them, but that's absolutely true. Just the other day, I heard, 5, 6 kids came in there, 15, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Thank you, no problem, sorry we're late, so respectful.
Yeah.
There was a long line, oh, don't worry about it, we're fine. And then the older people, they were the ones pushing the buttons a little bit to the point where it made me uncomfortable. So I think, again, my 5-minute answer to a 10-second question. That respect thing, I don't know if there's like a foundational lack of it, because I do see a lot of people being super respectful in school and teachers, but kind of society-wise, we need that maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, man. You're right.
Yeah, for me, I think it was a bit different. I come from a family where my dad had to drop out of high school because of our family circumstances at the time. My mom got married at a young age, so she never got to even complete the degree. So for me, education was important because they never got to live it.
Absolutely.
And they said, you know what, our kids have to do it and they have to perform. There's a bit more of that sense of it as well. But speaking of the fact that, you grew up around your parents were teachers and vice principals, was there an innate pressure for you to follow that route professionally?
No, because my parents were always very clear to my sister and I. They wanted us to be educated in whatever we wanted to do. They'd say, you want to be a chef? Yeah. Amazing. Why don't you go to the best school to be a chef? Or let's say you wanted to have a job where a degree wasn't necessary. They always insist that we get an undergraduate degree in something. Totally up to us. And what we want to do as a profession, up to you, but you need to be educated. It's that, I think it was that immigrant mentality. Like you said, my grandparents came to Canada after World War II. These Greek immigrants that saw the only way to them, and I think they were right, for social mobility was education. Right. They didn't come with bags of money. It was education, showing respect, and doing well academically, and then fiscally or financially, whatever you want to call it, that'll fall into place. So, I think that there's something. Again, I don't want to be so simplistic. It's only the immigrant mentality. It's not. I have many I have many friends who have been here 10 generations that work
But
hard.
they still, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of it. It's part of our journey, right?
It's part of it, but those spheres of people you surround yourself with, not to be so cheesy. You know, if you show someone, you show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. There's like some famous saying like that, right?
Yeah.
But really, like here, anyway, I'd like to think most of our families really do prioritize education, not because there's some payoff at the end. Go to university because you'll make $1 million. No, like in and of itself, to be romantic, school, you should appreciate learning for learning's sake. Right?
Yeah.
If it be in
should
a perfect,
enjoy it, right?
absolutely. Now, and if you use your degree, amazing. If you find your passion, amazing. But learning for learning's sake, people used to ask me, right? I studied old language and studied religion, theology, philosophy, and you name it. What are you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
Well, nothing. I love it. I'm learning about 18th century. It's cool philosophy. I'm learning about how the Dead Sea Scrolls were written. I'm learning a different language. Why does there have to be a payoff? So, again, to be cheesy, if the journey is, if you're enjoying that, yeah, whatever.
I think a lot of people in education maybe misunderstand what they're doing. So, in class we'd always do trigonometry or algebra, but like, I'm never going to use this.
Yeah.
It's the most useless thing I'm going to learn. When am I ever going to draw triangles in my career, right? But, one of my really good teachers, he told me, he said, Dheeraj, I'm not teaching you how to draw triangles. I'm teaching you how to solve complex problems.
Sure.
That's what I'm doing. And so when you do all these problems, you do all these questions, you're also building that knowledge, that ability to solve problems, to be uncomfortable with something you haven't seen before. And there's so many small things like that you build up that you don't realize that you do, because we look at things at such a surface level.
Absolutely.
We never really look deeper than that.
Absolutely. My joke to students here is always, no one's going to ask you to factor an equation
Yeah.
to get on the bus. It's not going to happen. But again, usually what I'll say too is, we're either doing the thing that we're doing or it's a metaphor for something. There's not a million options, right?
Yeah.
So typically in school, there's always a metaphor. Like you said, oh, you don't like math. Like I wouldn't crazy about math. You don't like factoring an equation? Okay, great. You get practice at doing something you don't like to do. Why? Because the government said you have to do it. Why? Do you want to graduate high school? You have to do things in life that you don't like.
Yeah.
If they don't go get your morals and your values and your ethics, do it. If it goes against those things, don't do it. But if it doesn't, tough luck. You got to do it. Like, you get what you get and you don't get upset, as my kids would always tell me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. and for those that don't know, Pete's famously known for his hockey involvement.
Famously.
I think famously, because I Googled and I'm like, hello. I would say famously. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you go from hockey to education? What a pivot. Never heard of that one before.
Amazing. Famously. If you're a fan of the OHL in the early 2000s, I guess, I might be considered famous. I grew up playing hockey my whole life. My mom really wanted me to play again. She was a Greek immigrant, her family, they were in Canada, and she wanted her son to learn how to skate. You're Canadian.
Yeah.
So she put me in hockey, and then, of course, being the great mom that she is and the enabler in a good way, Pete's going to play in the NHL, 5 years old, whatever I was. My dad was like, not a chance. He's terrible and he sucks. And he was right. So my mom really wanted me to excel in hockey and support me because I liked it.
Yeah.
So she took me to skating lessons, and she couldn't skate herself, but she'd stand like on the boards, public seating, and tell me, try to go right. It was the best.
Yeah.
So then, I was still terrible as a young kid, but I liked it, and I kept improving. I think the capacity for improvement was a major thing. If you took a snapshot of all the kids when I was 6, 7 years old, who's going to go play in the OHL or play professionally for a couple of years, it would not have been me.
Yeah.
And I can say that objectively now, but I liked what I was doing, and I had the work ethic to continue. I think that's the correlation with school, because in my house, my parents was always, your extracurriculars in your school, just apply yourself and do your best. It sounds so cheesy.
Yeah.
Like my dad said, just do your work. Just do your work. You want to get a better shot? Go shoot 100 bucks a day. You don't want to get a better shot? Don't shoot the puck. You want to do better in school? Take your notes, summarize your notes. You don't want to do better? Do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that cause and effect relationship. That mindset, a growth mindset of, if I do this, it should pay off. The hard part is when you do it and it doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
And then my old man and my mom and even me now, right? It sound like them. You still do it.
Yeah.
You still do the work. Well, it's not getting anywhere. Well, you still do the work.
Yeah. You keep grinding.
Keep grinding.
There's the one thing you can't control is what you put in.
Well said.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. What can you control? Your integrity, your work ethic. My dad did that. You can't control the weather. You can't control how bread costs in China on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right? But you can control if you're on time. And again, I think we get mad, or at least I get, talk about regrets or something. It's always the things that I could control that I didn't do.
Yeah.
I wish I studied. And that, keeps me up at night 20 years later after hockey. I'm like, look, actually I'd worked out harder. Maybe I would have back checked more. Maybe we would have won that game. It's pathetic 20 years later.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And school-wise as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And are there one or two skills that you felt that make you a different principal because you came from that background?
Good question. So hockey, when I was playing hockey, I was kind of on the border of, a little bit before me. It was that classic, stuff you see in the movies, coaches kind of typically, not all of them, but being really hard, kind of berating you and, survival of the fittest. If you can't handle me yelling at you,
You should be.
go.
Yeah.
Get lost. There's 10,000 other guys that'll come in here.
Yeah.
And then I think after me, there was more coaches. I'm not going to be pejorative, but like that had half a brain and understood a little bit of emotional, social intelligence. And I kind of was right on the border. So I had some coaches that were that old school, kind of giving you the gears to motivate. And from that, I hope I took some thick skin that people can kind of give me the gears or be hard on me. And when I was in grad school, my supervisor, two of them, be very pointed, constructive criticism, but very pointed.
Yeah.
A lot of red ink on that paper. You're pouring their heart and soul out, and there's mistake after mistake. That hit me hard. But then I would be like, well, at least she's not yelling at me.
Yeah.
At least no one's going to punch my head in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a thick skin, and again, understanding what work ethic is. So even some of my friends that went on to play at a higher level, playing in the NHL, I worked hard in practice and I did what I needed to do according to what the coach asked us.
Yeah.
But I didn't go above and beyond. Like some of my friends, eating, sleeping,
Everything.
It's an hour workout, I'll go 2 hours. And I didn't do that when I played hockey.
Yeah.
So now when I went to school, I said, I'm not making that mistake again. So I was getting up, in grad school, I talked to my wife, she was to lab, my sister was here. I was getting up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I was getting 2-3 hours of studying in before breakfast. Like I extended my day. And my wife and my sister would be, what did you ask? Why are you doing this? I learned my lesson. I'm not getting up and doing a normal amount of work anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. It actually created anxiety for me.
Yeah.
So knowing I could control, I'd get up, I'd work, and I'd put in 15-hour day.
Yeah.
I felt fantastic. One, I liked the material.
Yeah.
And two, I felt like I really could accomplish. Again, I didn't know what mark I was getting.
But
I
you felt like you did what you wanted to. Right?
I was in the library today. Again, I go for walks, I listen to my notes, I do different things. I would just sit at a desk the whole time.
Yeah.
But hockey taught me that there is a direct correlation between work ethic and achievement.
Yeah, and I resonate very deeply with that, Pete, because some people might have to say, oh, why are you doing this much? Or why are you working? Why are you doing all these different things? Or why are you working this hard? And for me, it's like I feel good when I do it. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm moving a step closer towards where I want to be, and it's not about other people. And Mark Cuban said this quote, which is like, you should work as hard as if someone else is working 200% to take what you have.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you should work just as much, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been like that. So I resonate very, very deeply with that too.
And and it's this weird paradox. I think about this quite a bit actually of, trying to believe in justice in the world, and our students. If our students work hard, I want them to achieve well. But at the same time, it's not about the achievement; it's about the work.
Yeah.
And the crappy thing is, we try to make our world here, and most educators, fair and equitable. And if A, then B. In the big bad world, that doesn't happen, as we well know.
Yeah.
There's people that are much smarter than me and better students that didn't go to the institutions I went to.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are less intelligent than me and didn't work as hard that went to better institutions that have higher degrees than me. The world doesn't make sense. What the hell? Well, forget about that.
Right.
You got to worry about yourself.
Yeah.
And you put in the work. There's got to be some enjoyment in the work, not just the result.
Yeah.
That's really hard for all of us, I think, to accept.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about that from one perspective, which is that, these days what I've seen is in some schools where if kids aren't performing as well, and let's say you're given a poor grade, the parents will come back and get involved. And the teachers, they have so much going on that they're like, you know what, take it, right? So for me, it's like, in my days, it was never like that.
No.
It was like, if this is what your performance is, you accept it. And you say, okay, that's really bad. I got to work harder, right? I think that's changing a little bit now in all these perspectives because we want to be a bit nicer to everybody. We want to maybe reward more. Like, do you think that's becoming a challenge?
So I guess I'll speak probably, and I guess I'll speak for the sphere that I'm in, right? So we're lucky here. We're very close with our families through the admissions process. My mom is the head of admission, the principal, obviously. We get to know the family as well. And your point's so well taken. If there's a 65% on the test,
Yeah.
What's the first reaction? I always tell kids, well, add it up. There might be a mistake.
Yeah.
Look at it. If you think you've been shortchanged in some way, be prepared to defend it respectfully. What does that mean? It doesn't mean, hey, Pete, you're an idiot. You marked it wrong. No, Pete, I'm unsure about this. Can you explain to me? And what's the criteria and what's the success criteria moving forward? So I tell kids, when they graduate, go to university, don't go to your TA and say, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
50% should be 80. Say, thank you for marking this.
Yeah.
I really want to improve life assessment.
Yeah.
What can I do to get up into the 80 range? Can you use this test or this quiz or this essay as a foil to tell me what I could have done to improve?
Yeah.
And just changing that thing. And sometimes, teachers make mistakes. Principals make mistakes. They make mistakes, but ultimately, I like to turn it and look internal. What can I do to do that? That's hard. And most of our parents, it's funny, are on that page. I don't get a ton of calls every day.
That's good.
Hey, little Sally, little J, that's a BS here. No, it's that, oh my goodness, how can we help them get better? So our staff,
What can we do?
if we have any assessment in the school, whether it's a tiny quiz or exam or whatever, that's under a 60%. Sorry, that's under a 70%. I don't even know what it was. Anything under a 70%, we write home. We write, hey, little Pete got a 64%, even if they did well for them. That's the caveat, right? So it's not about just that, hey, little Pete got a 64, he's improved, he got a 52 last time, he's working really hard, he comes in for extra help, keep up the good work. But that way parents know what's happening.
Yeah.
They don't walk in the final report and say, oh my God,
surprise.
little Sally failed?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you tell me? I want to help them. So I think again, I'm rambling, but a lot of it is communication, trust,
Right.
and understanding. It's not personal.
It never is. Yeah.
It's about the work and separating the author or the creator from the work. I say all the time, if there's a typo, it's a typo. It's not a reflection on your values and morals and ethics and how you are as a person. It's just a typo. Just fix the typo. We're separate for a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's hard. It's hard for adults to do
Yeah.
that, let alone in grade 7.
Yeah, that's great. That's a very good perspective to take. And when we think about your role today as a principal, what is the thing that you love most about what you do?
So I don't know if I'm a principal. I don't know if there's a typical principal out there. I don't know what the job description is. I don't.
Yeah.
But like I said, I get to do admissions with my mom so I get to meet the new families, which is fantastic because I think of myself and my mom the same way fully as the gatekeepers of the school.
Yeah.
So I get to be in everyone's corner. And I say this all the time. So student A comes into the school and they have a little, dust up and again sent to the principal's office. I'm the one that believes in them.
Yeah.
Right? I think I turn
Because
the
it's a bit
tables.
more personal too, right?
Absolutely. You're here because of my mom and I.
Yeah.
Because we think you're here. And the teacher, guess what? They know that I'm in your corner.
Yeah.
It kind of shifts the game. So I really love the fact that we are on every student's team when they come here.
Yeah.
Cliche answer, of course, seeing kids grow, seeing kids evolve. It's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
When they walk across stage at commencement, grade 12, some of these kids we've known since grade 7, some I've known since they were born.
Wow.
And they come across stage, you have that moment, that 2 seconds of shaking our hand, giving their diploma, giving them a hug. And, like a movie montage, kind of play it.
Yeah.
I remember when they had trouble with their homework, when they were late, and then we had to talk in the office, and you can cheat, and they come screaming back. So I think that's the cliche and sort of the commencement.
Yeah, I love that.
Look at the pageantry of a commencement.
Yeah.
And having the families there and getting to stop time for a minute to say, look at what you've achieved. Selfishly, for me, that's the best.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Like for me, when I was doing a lot of teaching assistant work at UBC, it was small, short periods of time. But for me, it was always seeing the end and then reminiscing on, okay, we worked so hard together to get to where you are. And it's like you feel so proud, genuinely proud, that pride in that other individual to see them get there. And then, I guess in some ways for me, selfishly, it's a sad moment too. Because after that, you're not going to meet them as often.
That's true.
They're not going to care as much, because they're going to go on in their lives. So selfishly, it becomes harder too.
Yeah, and it's almost like, and I try to talk about this in the commencement speeches of, now you're in front of everybody, everybody sees, the result of the work, and we're all inspired. I leave those, that kind of rite of passage ceremony. I'm ready to read 50 books and
like pumped up. Yeah.
But what about on the random Tuesday in 2 months?
Yeah.
Can you get that feeling back to work by yourself in the library when you go off to McGill or UBC or U of T and no one's around and nobody cares what you're doing? Can you get yourself going? It's hard, but that's what I try to link. That you need to do those moments by yourself to get the payoff at the end.
Yeah, no, that's very powerful. And talk to us, I want to shift gears a little bit because we've been talking about, I think we've hinted at some of these things before, but from your perspective, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges today? Whether it's in your school, whether it's overall, if you were to pinpoint 1 or 2 things, what would they be?
I think, try to say this succinctly, but that's not my way. I think the ethical usage and non-usage of AI is right at the top of my list.
Okay.
I'm probably missing something. But ultimately, how can we use technology, let's call it a software, whatever we want to call it, as an aid and not have it replace learning outcomes and learning goals?
Yeah.
That's hard, right? So it's like the calculator. Yeah, we have a calculator now. Yeah, but guess what? If you know how your times tables, you can factor the equation like this.
Yeah.
So you got to know something to then be able to analyze or then be able to grow from it. So I think having ChatGPT or having Quillbot or whatever these things are, Canva, Photoshop, Illustrator, we can use it for good and not evil.
Yes.
So, and we deploy that in our school very specifically. I'll give you an example. In marketing class, if we're not grading the artwork out, if we're making a pamphlet, we're actually having kids collect Photoshop.
Oh, yeah?
We're using AI.
Yeah.
In English class, we're not using AI to create our essays.
Yeah.
Because
that's a fundamental skill.
absolutely, and it's not replacing the skill.
Yeah.
And I say, to be a real stinker, I say, type in ChatGPT. Are you an academic source? You guys can try it, everybody listening.
Yeah.
They'll say no. She said, well, then you can't use it.
Yeah.
If you want to just get down to brass tacks, it's not an academic source yet because academia has not decided how to cite the thing.
Yeah.
Once it can be cited appropriately and credit given, then we'll use it.
Yeah.
I have no problem. Absolutely. I said, but telling grade 11s, anything that comes from outside of your own brain, from a human agent or not, you must cite it appropriately. Yeah. Because that's academia. We're trying to create a paper trail. When it stops with ChatGPT, that's hard. And again, we know it's a language model and it just goes by what's fed into it. And we know that there's discrepancies built into the we know all this. So the point is it's very easy. Yeah. And kids can, and staff too. So how can we use it and not use it ethically? That is on the top of my brain.
I think that's a very important, because it's something that's so consistent. Every time I've spoken to principals or directors, it's always been, okay, we know it exists, it's there, and it's extremely easy for anyone to use, right? It's not like a complex technology, it's not expensive, it's accessible, it's cheap, it's easy. How do we use it for our benefit? Not to cost us, not to affect our students, not to impact them. And I think for a short period of time, there's a lot of excitement around it. And I think that's when a lot of these questions came up around, and it's good because we need to think actively, okay, what do we do to make sure we're using it in the correct way to help us? Sure. How can we change the way we assess? How can we do things a bit differently, experiment a little bit more, so that we're still using it and learning, but we're doing it in a way that's helpful to us. Right?
Absolutely. And this happened with the internet 20, whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
And, people thought, like academia is going down the tubes, teachers were retiring because they don't. Yeah, but we still get peer-reviewed journals online, and we still can do it the right way. I imagine that some way, somehow, generative AI will be an academic source in the future. Yeah. But again, I'm very not tentative, but I just want to make sure it's ethical. And I preach it to the staff and the kids. I say you're gonna have a chance to cheat and not get caught. You will have chances galore. Yeah. You'll know though. Yeah. You'll know.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. What? Yeah, big deal.
Yeah. You should also feel it.
Absolutely.
A little bit inside to say,
do you want your pilot cheating their way through pilot school, and then you get on the no, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want your surgeon cheating their way? Then no, you do not.
We depend on each other, right?
Absolutely. So it's just all about ethics for me.
Yeah, that's a very, very good one. And I wanted to learn a little bit more because you mentioned that you and your mom are the gatekeepers at the school. You come from a family. Your dad was also
my sister too.
Your sister. Yeah. So your whole family has been here. Can you share a memory with maybe your dad that you had that really influenced you in this journey today?
It was more, again, my way, I'll just ramble for 5 minutes. There are a million memories because we're all very close. So it was that day-to-day stuff. But his passion for teaching, he hated the admin side of being a principal. He actually refused to do it. Yeah. My sister did most of his admin work. This is on camera. Everybody knows it. Yeah. He insisted on teaching full-time. So he taught math. He loved teaching Math 8. He taught over 45, whatever, different classes. But he loved teaching. And he was a hard teacher, but he loved his students. So there are millions of memories from that. But really, I like the memories. Maybe my favorite one that can encapsulate my dad is as a principal, sometimes you have to expel students. It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible for the family. It's terrible for us. It's not a fun thing to do ever. So the point of the story is, there's a Good Life Fitness in our building. Yeah. And for some reason, I was here on a Saturday. I was doing something. And I come up here, and my dad's in this office right now. Is my dad's office. Yeah. He's at his desk, and there's a young man sitting with him. I was like,
So
that guy, the young man was expelled. And this was next year. This is like 10 months later or more. I would say same more. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Dad, we're still on enough. So I hope you're doing well. I leave. So this young man comes out the stairs after some waiting outside. He says, hey, what's going on? Have you upset? He's like, yeah. But what are you doing here? It's like, I meet your dad every week. What? Like every Saturday, come, I go to the gym, and you, me and your dad come up, and we talk and should breeze about life and, get his advice and still supports me. Holy crap. This is like months later. And at his funeral, one of the first people in line, sounds ridiculous. My dad expelled kids all the time. He didn't. But one of the first people at his funeral was a young man he expelled 14 years ago.
wow.
And to see the appreciation they had and knowing that it was done with integrity and that my dad still cared about it, but he had to make the right decision for the school and for the young person, as hard as it was, that said a lot about my old man.
Yeah.
And there's a million other great men. I don't know why I'm skewing negative, but there's a million other great memories too.
But I mean that also is so powerful to me personally. I think I think I always underestimated how much teachers love what they do.
Another depth. Well said.
At the forefront, when everyone looks at it, they think it's just a job. You think it's a hard job, but you do it. And then I talk to teachers, and you can feel the amount of love that they have for the students.
Sure.
And coming in on a Saturday, doing math aid in the evenings, these are not things people want. These are things people want to do. People want to do for the love of the students and the care. So I think that story is very powerful because it shows that real, raw love for the students.
Absolutely.
No matter what. That's incredible. Okay. And the other thing I really wanted to talk about is how TPS is structured. So I know that there's a lot of science behind some of the things that you do. It's different, right? And one of them I think is the later start time. I wanted you to share a little bit more about where that comes from. Did your dad start that? Was that your idea?
It was my parents. That was my it was my sister and my idea when we were in high school, but they told us to shut up and go to school at 8 a.m. like everybody else did. So when we started the school, this was 2009, but my parents were thinking about it for a year or two before. Okay. We'd always go to these family dinners up the street where we used to live at the sushi place, and there'd be battles, right, over what's the color scheme going to be?
Yeah.
And what's the nickname of the school going to be? And what's the name of the school going to be? It was awesome, but it was very fruitful. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So my parents, consulted with adolescent psychiatrists, psychologists, you name it, social workers, everybody.
Yeah.
And all the research was saying there's something to the adolescent brain turning on a little bit later in the day. So, interesting. Our kids need their sleep, or the circadian. And my dad said, "Yeah, but what about when they grow up? What the hell? They're gonna go to work every day at 10 or 11?" It's like, no, there's circadian rhythms, and as you grow up. So, long story short, they said, "Why don't we push school back to 10 a.m.?" So it serves a couple. One is the science was there to back it up.
Yeah.
The second one is it allowed us to offer extra help to the students before school every single day of the week. So in our building, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., every teacher is in the building. We're all in our respective classrooms, and we're waiting to do extra help with students. It's like a university office hour.
Yeah.
You go home, you're working on you're factoring the equation. I don't know why it's on my brain today.
Yeah.
And you can't do it, and mom and dad can't help
It's
because they haven't done it.
Yeah.
I know whatever. I know food is going to be there,
Yeah.
so I'll just go on early morning. And it lets us do our sports in the morning too. So we can the field across the street, fitness center.
Which is smart. You're going to get workout in the morning, right?
So we just kind of change the cadence of the day. That's all. So now we go 10 a.m. till 4:10, Monday to Thursday. Friday we go 10 a.m. until 3.
Okay.
But extra help's there every single morning. We have 2 teachers stay late every day till 6 p.m. to help kids after school. But kids aren't late as much, right?
Yeah.
If we're late for 10 a.m.
Good, then what are you doing? Come on.
I get to give you the gears, right?
Yeah.
So it helped with attendance tremendously. It helped with tardiness tremendously. It helped kids get the extra help they need in the morning. It's really a no-brainer. And now several schools have actually taken them all.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I read a thing in the New York like 5 years ago about this crazy school in Hawaii. Push your start backs. Who did that 10 years ago?
Where's our article, right?
Yeah, I want to be in the New Yorker with that.
Yeah, you just gotta tell them.
Exactly.
No, and are there any other sort of tips like that you've implemented in the school?
Well, we keep the classes at 16. That's an
16.
arbitrary number. My mom and dad just came up with what's a nice critical mass of enough students to have the social dynamic in class, but not so many students that you can hide. So we chose 16. Again, every student gets a MacBook here. So we give every student upon registration the same tech. So we know what they have. We teach them how to use it. But really it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Most students, it's not. Small classes, engaged teachers, tons of communication. That's it.
Keep it simple. Yeah. Yeah, well, none of that. All right, we're going to Fire on. It's my favorite because
Okay, I'm ready.
it's quick, it's fast, and
I'm not rapid though, buddy. You know that about me. But
You
I'm
got
sorry.
it under 1 minute, so I'll give you that. Okay.
Your answer.
All right. First question: what's your favorite book on education or leadership?
Okay, I'm gonna do a cop-out answer.
Yeah.
I just read Fahrenheit 451.
Okay.
Very apropos about burning books and about technology taking over our lives and how it's essentially shouldn't. It's not really about education or leadership, but it has influenced me when it comes to my pedagogy and my leadership.
Okay.
Fahrenheit 4.
Okay. Gotta check that one out.
Amazing.
What's one part of your daily routine that you cannot skip?
Walk.
Go on. Okay.
Walk every morning.
Every
Walk
morning.
to
huh?
work every morning.
Do you have a pet? It's
3 kilometers. No, just me. Just
Yeah.
old Pete. 3 kilometer walk to work. Some
3
days I-
kilometers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
3K, I walk. Love it. It's awesome. Some days I don't get to do it. And when I don't do it,
Rain or shine?
I'm in that rain, shine, sleet. It's a promise I made to myself. Of course, some days you can, but it is the best. Starts my day perfectly. Like, don't do it. It's terrible.
Yeah. Hockey or education, if you had to pick one?
No, education. All day.
Education.
Oh my God, all day. Hockey's great, but education. All day.
One word that best describes Northern Prep School.
Cheat. Okay. Do cheat with family.
Family. Everyone's tight knit.
It's a family. Good and bad family.
Okay. Most rewarding part of being a principal.
Same thing like I think most educators would say when that light bulb, that light bulb goes on, you're helping a student or they're not behaving well and something happens
Yeah.
and they think that you or the staff had something to do with it. We have 1% to do with it, but it's them. It's the kid, it's the student figuring it out themselves, having that light go on, the best.
Okay. Favorite subject in school growing up?
Boom, history.
History? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Word, least favorite?
I liked everything. Math was hard for me, so I put more work in math and I did all my other subjects combined. So-
Okay.
I guess I'll say math was my least favorite, but again, I tried.
Yeah. I mean, you put in the work, right?
I put in the work, but yeah, history, anything about the past, the best.
Okay. Very cool. And just to close us off here, I'm curious to know and share with the audience as well, where do you see both yourself and TPS in the next 5-10 years? Where do you see this going?
So physically, in a new campus would be fantastic.
Okay.
A new campus right in our area that we're at now, so Midtown Toronto would be amazing. Me personally, I hope I'm still here. And we kind of hinted at it before. I love TPS. There are people here that taught me in high school 25 years ago. There's people that have known me my whole life that work here. There's people I've known them their whole lives. There's 35 students who my parents taught their parents. I could go on and on and on. My dad was the first principal here. My sister, my mom created on and on and on. There's no personal and professional for me. It's all together. So this isn't the cliche thing. It's not even work. It's not. I love being. I'm here all the time. There's no separate for me. So yeah, I'll probably be here.
Wow.
Lucky if I was here.
Yeah. No, that's a wonderful note to end off on. So thank you so much, Pete, for spending some time with us. This was great. I had
We'll
a
do 4
really
hours
nice
next time though.
Yeah, I mean, we also have a lot of younger listeners too, right? So I think they get very inspired. You're a younger principal, relatively,
I'll take it.
At least I like to think that. I think for people like myself who are passionate about it, it's inspiring to see the leadership at your relatively early age and your ability to enact all these changes, but so productively move the school towards something great. I think is nothing short of inspiration. So I think a lot of people also listening today will be very inspired. So thank you so much for your time and the advice.
Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.